Hello everybody, Travis here, your host for Tpull's Corner, and we've got a new deck today, and it led me to some interesting decisions. So we're going to do this first battle, and then I'll take you through the deck tech, and I'll sort of give you a deck building guide, and take you through the mind of Travis and how it works. This is an interesting kind of arrangement, but I'm going to take you through my mental steps as to how I got there. And this pumps up whenever they sacrifice an artifact, which is fine. That's why we have Malicious Eclipse, so we can get to it before it gets too big. And I just need it not to be able to have yet another sacrificial artifact with the 1 mana this turn. Maybe you'll have an unsummon it, can bring it back. No? Okay, so it's exiled, so it's not coming back. Given that the Duskmourn expansion is out, the Manifest Dread gives you a bunch of 2/2 creatures, so I think whenever I'm playing black, Malicious Eclipse is going to be one of my favorite spells from now on going forward. Let's go ahead and do... Yeah, let's do Eidetic Memory for now. It gets me another card at least. Okay. Well, these are going to be tapped no matter what. Let's try and see if this flies or if they've got counterspells ready. Counterspells ready. They got the negate. So we're going to be half dead. And the question is, how many of those counterspells do they have here? They tapped out, so let's get rid of the familiar. They got a lot of nice cheap spells, so they're basically just using this to cycle through their deck. Let's try the second one. See if they have the other negate handy. They kept 2 mana up, so I'm assuming they have 4 of these in there, but... Oh, you know what? I wasn't paying attention. It doesn't work because this is 2 mana. That's a mess up on my part, alright. Ouch. Okay, this is where we have to go straight to a phasing of Zhalfir, I think. Let's see. 3, 4... Okay, this will work. We destroy everything. It becomes a 2/2 black for its creature token, and then we have just enough to get rid of them so they don't hit us for 4 next turn. Unfortunately, that's most of our ammo. Oh, they didn't like what they had for the most part. So they get to refill. Let's see if I have enough here. If I turn this into a creature, I'm going to get another creature. Let them mill. And as we can see, negate, deduce, really cheap instance. Okay, this is cast for free, but it still counts as another spell, which means if they have a counterspell, they could do something against it. Let's try this as well. Because with the Paragon, with his ability, even if... Ouch. Even if they had a counterspell, I would still get to do something like this. I kind of like this, in case they come up with a threat. But the problem is they do get to see it. So they know what I've got. And I'm tapped out. Let's try this again, actually. That worked out fairly well the first time. Except this time I'm just going to hit them straight to their face. We get to go ahead and return the enchantment. That's how Intimidation Campaign works. What did we get rid of? Another negate, which is good. And a couple of Gleaming Mandrakes. That is also good. We try the Intimidation Campaign again so that we can get some life back and draw a card. It's only one life point at a time, but... Oh, they don't like that so much, they're actually willing to give me a gift. That's the only way they could make it work on a non-creature. Okay, this is easy enough. Get rid of you. And what are they holding on to? Let's try. Let's spend some of these cards we've got. It's a lightning strike. Okay. So if I don't have anything to gain life, let's go ahead and get rid of this. Render inert. We'll remove all the counters. Get another. And they're basically hoping to top deck another lightning bolt. They're quitting? No, they did pass. You know, I think... Let's see, where are you? 1... And I don't have enough land to do more. But we are going to swing in with everything. That's 11. And we'll still mill them some more. Now my problem is, if they try and do a lightning bolt, did I just mill them right to where they got to a lightning bolt? Get rid of another creature, and a couple of lands, and a counterspell. But thankfully we have Urtai Resurrected, and they don't know. They didn't know about that. So even if they have a lightning bolt, we were going to be able to counter it. They would have needed both a lightning bolt and yet another counterspell. All right, our first outing has done well. Let me go in and show you the full deck list. It's called the Phasing of Zhalfir after one card that I decided to start the build around, because I wanted to examine the color pie. Because Wizards of the Coast has been very clear, especially in the last 10 years, about what they should do in terms of bending the color pie, what should be allowed, what shouldn't be allowed. And this technically, I guess it's a bend, but, you know, blue in the old days didn't used to have destruction. It did in alpha, like you would have color opposition. So if there was a red elemental blast that would destroy a blue permanent, blue would also get what was at the time they were interrupts, before interrupts were phased out of the game. The blue would get a blue interrupt blast, and a blue elemental blast, and it would be able to destroy a red permanent. And that didn't bother us at the time, right? We thought that was very fair. But over time, as different people took over in Magic with the design, they solidified their philosophy of what the color pie should be, and where each color, what lanes each color should have. And that meant that the word destroy, for the most part, left blue altogether. It's been very firm for more than a decade now that blue does not destroy. So it really caught my attention when they came out with this Enchantment Saga from Dominaria United. Enchantment Saga with the same first 2 chapters. Another target non-land permanent phases out. It can't phase in for as long as you control the phasing of Zhalfir. It seems like a win more card, because the 3rd chapter is what destroys all creatures. So you're thinking, okay, I'll phase out one of my creatures for the 1st or 2nd chapter and save them from destruction, and then they'll come back and hopefully they're bigger than 2/2s. But you kind of need to be in a position where you've already got creatures out. You're not afraid of taking hits for those 2 turns while your creatures phase out against the enemy creatures and that kind of thing. But we do have this new feature that came out with Dominaria, right? The read ahead, where you can skip all the way to Chapter 3 and destroy things. But you still need a way to get rid of those creatures. So I wanted to play around with this card and see what all can we do with it. So I started with 4 copies of Phasing of Zhalfir, keeping in mind all the 2/2s out there, and the fact that if your creature is not a 2/2, we're turning it into a 2/2. I have 4 copies of Malicious Eclipse. All creatures get -2/-2 until the end of turn. If a creature an opponent controls dies, it gets exiled instead, so it doesn't come back to bother us. So if they've got what's very common and popular, especially with the latest Duskmourn expansion, there's a new creature that people love to bring back, either in place of Atraxa, or they just add on 4 copies of the new creature, it's a black creature, along with 4 copies of Atraxa. So if we can use Phasing of Zhalfir to destroy something like an Atraxa, turn it into a 2/2, and then get rid of it so that it doesn't come back, that's pretty cool. Anyway, it may not work that way for a while, but because you have to destroy all the creatures first. So, in a point of fact, if we used Zhalfir to destroy Atraxa would go back into the graveyard. Anything that was left that's a regular creature will get exiled. So, it doesn't quite work the way I want it to. But I only have one other 1-drop here, and that's Disfigure. So, for an early instant to get rid of something that comes up against us, just to keep the mono reds at bay a little bit, a little ode to them. The deck is 61 cards. The final card I added was 1 copy of Prophecydetic Memory, and I'll explain why later. Because what I did, once I had this base, I have Phasing of Zhalfir, I want to build around that. I need a way to get rid of the enemy's 2/2 Phyrexian creature tokens. That led me to Malicious Eclipse. Then, what else do I want? I was looking at Invasion of Ravnica, a battle. And whenever it enters, exile target non-land permanent and opponent controls that isn't exactly 2 colors. So you do have to pay attention in case your opponent is playing a 2-color card, that you don't play this when that's the only option, that's the only target. The nice thing is that when you convert this, whenever you cast a spell that's exactly 2 colors on your end, you look at the top 6 cards of your library, you can reveal a card that's exactly 2 colors and put it into your hand. So what I was running into in my testing is anytime I converted one of these battles into the construct, I would start to draw a lot of cards and I would be in danger of running over. So eventually after time, I'm like, I don't have to discard these all the time. I can just put in 1 Prophecydetic Memory and I'll have no maximum hand size. And that way I can just draw whatever I want. And I don't have to worry about ditching 2, 3, 4 different cards after all of my draws. So once I had Invasion of Ravnica, then I'm looking in my mind at battles and 2-color cards. So I'm already in black and blue, so those are my 2 colors. I'm not going to expand past that. I've got a card I've played with in previous decks that it's been an absolute awesome card in every deck I've used it. Render Inert. Remove up to 5 counters from target permanent and draw a card, so it replaces itself. So it's a nice fit into here. And what I'm thinking is, instead of trying to transform all of these battles by attacking them all the time, I'll just use Render Inert to remove all of the counters. And that way I'll get automatically the ability to not only convert my battle without having to worry about getting through the opponent's offensive line or defensive line, but I'll also get to draw a card in addition to that. So it seems like a very nice fit. And it's planned that way, right? Because these are from the... so that led me to battles, and it led me to look at 2-color cards. So most of the rest of what I've got in here is 2-color cards. The only things that aren't 2-color that are left are, I've got 1 Invasion of Segovia, which is a battle, which I can use Render Inert to transfer over. Gives you 2 blue Kraken creature tokens. They're just 1/1 to start with. They have trample. But then all non-creature spells you have convoke, so you can tap the Krakens to help you cast your spells. Plus, at the beginning of your end step, you get to untap up to 4 target creatures, which is awesome for like playing Iron Man football with Magic, where your defenders can automatically be attackers the next turn, and that kind of thing, and vice versa. So I've got Invasion of Ravnica, I've got my battles, I've got a way to convert my battles, and then I've got more battles. The other thing that I have that's only 1 color is another battle, Invasion of Fyara. So when it enters a battle, I can destroy all legendary or non-legendary creatures. There are some times where you're going to have a legendary creature out and they've got all non-legendary, and so you only board wipe their side, and you've still got somebody who can attack next. So that's awesome. And then if I use a Render Inert on this, then I get Marchesa for free, basically, in the next turn. So that's yet another battle. Everything else is going to be able to be fetched with Guildpact Paragon. Whenever I cast a spell that's 2 colors, I'm going to get another spell that's 2 colors. It is very hard with the rest of this deck to whiff whenever I cast a 2-color spell after that. And so these are the things that I have. Wail of the Forgotten. Sorcery, this is from Ixalan. A Descent 8, which means I need to have 8 or more permanents in the graveyard to do more than one. Otherwise, I'm restricted to just choosing one item. I can return a target non-land permanent to its owner's hand, make them discard a card, or I can look at the top 3 cards of my library and put one of them into my hand. The rest will go into my graveyard, which helps with future Wails of the Forgotten. In case I haven't gotten to 8, I can maybe choose selectively what's in my hand to make sure it's permanents that I throw into the graveyard, and then make sure I get closer to that Descent 8 for the next time. What else do we have? We have Etrata, Deadly Fugitive, 2 copies of this, 1/4 with Death Touch. I'm not worried about the face-down creatures quite so much in this deck, although I do have some ideas with Duskmourn coming out. But whenever an assassin you control deals combat damage to an opponent, you cloak the top card of that player's library. So I'm able to take the top card of their library and turn it into a face-down 2/2 creature with Ward 2. And so, who says you can't use cards from Karlov Manor? And that pairs very nicely with Coerce to Kill, another card from the same expansion I have 2 copies of. You enchant a creature, you control it. It has base power and toughness 1, has Death Touch, and is an assassin. So that's a nice card to pair up with Etrata, Deadly Fugitive. If Etrata's out while you use this on one of the opponent creatures, then maybe that was the only one they had blocking. And suddenly you have 2 assassins, and suddenly you'll be able to cloak 2 cards with 1 attack. So that can be kind of fun. Another 2-color card, Intimidation Campaign. It got 3 of these. When it enters, opponent loses a life, you gain a life, and you draw a card. Whenever you commit a crime, you can return the campaign to the owner's hand. I've used this before. If you're a long-time viewer, you just go back a month or 2 and you'll find it. It was devastatingly effective. It works really well with this deck. Another battle I can use Render Inert on, Invasion of Amonkhet. So not only is it a battle, but it's a battle that I can summon with Guildpact Paragon, and easy for me to convert with Render Inert. When it enters, each player mills 3 cards, then an opponent discards a card, and you draw a card. When I convert it, we get the Lazotep Convert. You can copy any creature card in anybody's graveyard, except it's a 4/4 black zombie. So I can take something like Etrata, and suddenly instead of a 1/4, it's a 4/4 zombie with Death Touch. That's kind of fun. Usually I'm looking at my opponent's library and seeing if they have anything I can use, especially if they have, like, say, a bat with lifelink. I can suddenly get a 4/4 bat with lifelink pretty easily, that kind of thing. Then we have 2 copies of Urtai Resurrected. Notice these 2 colors, legendary, so he's good for doing the board wipes with Invasion of Fiora. I can use that to counterspell or destroy another target or planeswalker. The controller does get to draw a card, so it's not without 1 drawback. But I'm using both of those. I've got 1 planeswalker here, Kaido, Dancing Shadow. This I can use for 0 to draw a card, or +1, up to 1 creature can't attack or block until end of turn. If one of my creatures deals damage to a player, I can return one of those creatures to my hand. If I do, I can activate the loyalty abilities of Kaido twice instead of just once. And then the final thing, you can -2, give it a 2/2 colorless drone artifact creature token, and that token you can see pictured to the right. It's so cute. It has Death Touch. When he leaves the battlefield, each opponent loses 2 life and you gain 2 life. So a little bit of life gain in the deck between that and the Intimidation Campaign, and if I copy something with lifelink from my opponent. And then, final card, another 2-color card, another legendary card, and you notice legendary. My creatures are legendary, so I'm either board wiping everything if they have legendary creatures, or I'm only destroying non-legendary creatures, and I get to keep mine. Talion, the Kindly Lord, legendary fairy noble, 3/4 with flying, just 1 in the deck. As he enters, you get to choose a number between 1 and 10. Whenever an opponent casts a spell that has mana value, power, or that chosen number, that player loses 2 life, and you get to draw a card. So if I choose the number 3, it doesn't matter if the creature's power is 3, their toughness is 3, or it costs 3 to summon it, we're going to get that effect. So Very nice card with a lot of value in it, I think. And so there's a lot of card draw in here, right? We can get Prophetic Memory. We can draw cards with Render Inert. Draw cards with Intimidation Campaign. We can draw cards with Talion potentially. So lots of ways to draw cards in here. What else do we have over here? We've got one Dross Pit for card draw. We've got a bunch of dual lands. I've got the one Gloomlake Verge, which is the new one from Duskmourn, where you can add a swamp, you can add black mana, but only if you already control an island or a swamp on the field. Otherwise, you're stuck with the blue until you get a basic island or swamp in there. We've got two of the Restless Reefs to mill them, get a 4/4 black shark creature with Death Touch, and we've got some Undercity Sewers so we can surveil our deck. Specialty lands in case they're going to attack us. And that was my thinking when I saw the card Phasing of Zhalfir and decided to build a deck around it. It led me to the battles, it led me to Render Inert, it led me to 2-color synergy. And all of the cards I kind of, as I went through, they kind of intertwined each other out. And we get to go first. We have both Restless Reefs. That's unusual to get them both at the same time. You notice we're not too expensive, right? We've got, if we get a third land, we can cast 4 of the 5 spells. That's as good a start as any. So before I forget, remember to like and subscribe. We may have to do this in 2 stages. When we get to 4 mana, if we're overwhelmed by the opponent's creatures, we may have to destroy them first, take a hit, and then go ahead and cast this for 3 in the next turn to clear the board. In the meantime, I feel kind of bad. I'm not going to do anything this turn, I guess, but we already missed a land drop, which usually means we lose. It usually does. And so let's just go ahead and throw this back up. We could have made them discard a card as well. I'm probably just going to quit because it's already 2 turns without a land draw. And we're going against mounts. And they've already got 4 lands, which means we are toast. We are so toast. Yeah, I mean, I'll hang around, but I'm not sure what the point is by this time. I mean, even though it's 20 to 19, this board state, for what these things can ramp into, is already atrociously bad. I mean, if I do get a 4th land, we do have a potential way that we don't get too far behind, technically. It seems like with Duskmourn, the environment is even faster and deadlier than it was before. Which it seems like we're able to say that almost every expansion. So in the old days, I would just never give up. These days, I am willing to. I'm willing to when I miss this many land drops. Let's try and see if we can get land this way. I am willing to throw in the towel earlier these days. Yeah, this is pretty disgusting. Throw away the most expensive one. Oh, Arena really doesn't like me, does it? How dare I win my first match? I'm not going to edit this out. I'm keeping this in. You guys have to see what Arena does as soon as I win a battle around here. Okay, still still nothing. Yeah, we're gone. That was atrociously bad. Arena, you done me dirty. 1 land for the entire... That was like 6 turns. You gave me 1 land in 6 turns. Arena should be ashamed of itself. went a really long time recently without having any land starvation. Well, turn on the recorder, Travis. Try to record something for your audience. See what happens. I'll just gain my life back, opponents. Thank you very much. They have blue, so you got to give them extra time to think about things. I'm going to pull up my email. I got my report card recently from Magic the Gathering on what I've done. And I have slowed down a lot just because of real life. So it's kind of surprising what's happened. To me, anyway. Unyielding Gatekeeper. They just put that out turn face up. They didn't even try to hide it. Let's just make them discard a card. So, like, I'm not even able to post as much as I was, but they sent me the report card. They said, I played more games on Arena than over 95% of players. I've got more gold from Quest than more than 95% of players. And my daily wins for the gold is more gold than over 95% of players. Right now, it's deciding my favorite color is black, and my favorite format is standard, which matches. But considering I'm not able to get my 15 wins, I just don't have enough time. If I'm lucky, I'll get 5 to 7 wins when I get to sit down and play around. You know, just one little session a day, maybe. And so I'm playing like easily half as much as I used to, at least for this stage. I'll try and get back to more later if I can. It just depends if real life is going to slow down at all. But the idea that I've cut my playtime in half and somehow I'm still playing more than 95% of other players in many aspects of the game is kind of strange to me. I really want them to put down more stuff, so I'm going to keep taking some damage for now. We'll just put this out. Notice I'm still having some trouble finding land, actually. We do need 6 to make the full deck work. And if I want to bring down Intimidation Campaign and then bring things back, this is actually a hungry beast. I need a lot of lands. This is 2 colors, so Invasion of Ravnica does not help. So Malicious Equips is kind of bad. There was 1 land. Finally. What did they didn't lose much. They lost a board wipe. They're not the ones that need that board wipe. Okay, we did finally get a land. And we got another one coming up. That's all good except we're about to die. Did they discard a creature at all? No, they have not discarded a creature. So what's left for me to do here? I've only got 6. I'm dead no matter what. All of their stuff was, except for the first one, was above 2. And missing land drop again. This kind of deck, I do need my lands. The opponent did not really miss a land drop. I did. That's enough. And I had card draw, I had surveil. They just want me to stick 1 extra land in here is all. So notice yet again, another game in a row, they gave me the most expensive card and put it in my opening hand. So Arena, that normal pattern. Why are we pausing? There we go. Okay, we have to worry about this now, right? We have to worry about our life total. Let's do Malicious Eclipse. Thankfully, Malicious Eclipse exiles them, so we don't have to worry about an outlaw dying in that case. We don't lose the life, so that's kind of cool. That card is a pain in the butt. But I don't have the right type of lands, so I guess I'm just putting down a Trotta. And now we're in danger of me getting beat with my own deck. This is 2 colors, so I can't get rid of it with Invasion of Ravnica either. So let's do read ahead. We're just going to blow stuff up so Jasper can't steal more stuff from me. Almost out of ammunition on the other side. They're keeping 1 in reserve. I'm not sure why, but we don't mind. I'm going to use Invasion of Ravnica to get rid of Rakish Crew. Sorry, Rakish Crew. Is it Rakish or Rakish? Let me know in the comments. An opponent does nothing? I'm not used to that. Now we get our enchantment. And now we're starting to get the land that we want. And pardon me while I try and get the cat off the keyboard so he doesn't make me concede the game prematurely. Do we want to do that? No. I've got a way to get rid of the 2/2. But that's a lot of energy to spend on a 2/2. Especially when I can do other stuff. So that lets us return this to our hand, which means we get to use it again for more life gain and card draw. That was actually more energy to spend, but I feel better about it because they're not replacing anything right now. Ooh, that's a good one. Because if they're hoarding any removal spells, they might feel compelled to burn their spells on 1/1s. Yes. They're thinking that most of my deck is creatureless. Technically they're correct, but all of these can be converted into creatures later. They're actually trading? Wow. Okay, now we're going to use that. End the turn. I'm not going to use my Restless Reef just yet. Choose options. Hang on, do I have 8? No, I only have 2. Okay, so I want to make them discard a card, because that gets my Intimidation campaign back. A land that, well, you were hoarding. How much land are you going to get? That's okay, this is what we wanted. Render Inert gets rid of Invasion of Ravnica, the Siege. And we get Guildpact Paragon if it stays. Then as soon as we get this back into our hand, it would trigger it off. They have Murder ready. Not a problem. That's why we did that one instead of Invasion of Segovia. Okay, they just used 1 removal. I wonder if the rest of what they got is removal cards. Are we just gonna... Ooh, that's lovely. The only thing that would have been better is if we'd already had Guildpact Paragon out. That's okay. Here we go again. Boom. And your creature goes away. Life is good. I don't need to play anything else right now, actually. I've got so many choices here. So many options. It's good to have options. Okay, now I'm ready. No, wait, I'm not ready. If I can bring these back up and bring them down, I'd rather use my energy for that rather than the power of the Restless Reef. Especially when I don't know what they have. We get to choose more stuff. Life is good. Activate Paragon. Ooh, I get a Planeswalker. Life is so good. Oh, life is so good. Target opponent discards a card. Oh, I get Urtai. I get another Intimidation campaign. I have so many choices. There's such a plethora. No, you guys aren't coming back. I'd have to discard. Let's go convert this. End the turn. Untap you. Ta-da! I feel so happy now. Mostly because we've shown off most of the cards right there. When you can get these cards to interact with each other, we're not worried about interacting with the opponent quite so much with this deck, so much as just doing our thing the way our cards interact with the other cards that we have. If we can get that going well, the engine that we have sort of makes sure that we're not afraid of anything that they have. More land. I like it up front. I like the extra land up front. This is permanence, so they could, if they get enough mana, they could cast our battles. Wow, they're acting like they're a blue player. Come on, Tommy Bones, play card. You can do it. No, that was a lot of effort to just attack me for 1 point of damage. That's all we're gonna do. I've got 19 more turns at this rate. I'm not pressed for time just yet. I discarded 2 cards. Okay. Let's get rid of things we know they can't use. And to be fair, things that I can't use right now either. Let them digest that I have Render Inert. I have almost never seen Render Inert used against me. Although, I've got to tell you, there's the card that has the oil counters on it, and if it doesn't have the oil counters, you lose the game. I think Arena used me to win. My very first playtest, they put that card down, and I was able to play Render Inert on that creature, and they lost the game at the next upkeep. So, if you want to have some fun, you know, against mono-black players, put in a Render Inert in your deck and see if Arena just selflessly feeds you up that creature. I'm blanking on the name right now. And our opponent is actually roping. There's no other board state. They have the only creature on the board. They're tapped out. And for some reason, they're holding up the game. do I feel like? I feel like this.
This fight is already over.
If they
I
don't
can
have
run
something
circles around you.
to kill the Planeswalker, they're going to have to put something else out on the field besides Tiny Bones. There we go. That's what I was hoping for. Burn your treasure. Put down another creature, please. Perfect. Well, not perfect, because that's beyond Malicious Eclipse. But we're going to go Surveil. Render. I'll take a Render Inert. That's fine. We'll do a Malicious Eclipse. And we'll +1 my Planeswalker again.
That should be enough of
They
a
can still
distraction.
tap and do a point of damage to me each turn, but they can't attack the Planeswalker. Well, if you're going to do that to me, I'm going to do this. You can't attack or block.
Too slow.
They don't want the land. They're digging for something better than what they got. Well, this is kind of fun. Attack! Wow. They accepted that. Well, I'm just gonna I'm just gonna freeze you and
You can't fight what you can't see.
make him discard a card. What have you been holding on to this whole time? I shoot the sheriff, okay. Oh, this is 2 colors. We can't use that.
Too slow.
Is time on my side here? We've got about the same amount of land. Let's keep this up.
That should be enough of a distraction.
Let's look in my deck this time. Come on, you had your turn. It's my turn. Come on, Tommy Bones. There we go. I have 3 lands. Okay, I guess I'm keeping that land. And we play that, and we're done. We're only up to 3 permanents. After all of that effort. Alright, we have another creature. Let's do this. You go away. You can't attack. And next comes Render Inert.
Too slow.
I'm assuming most of the rest of this is going to be removal spells. Seriously? Chapter 2. Phase out my guy. You can't attack or block.
I'll handle this one.
Do you bother to put any creatures down this turn? You shouldn't, because they're going to get destroyed next turn. Yep, things are looking hairy for me now. So do you go after the Planeswalker? You do, even though it's up to 11.
Now it's a real fight.
Alright. Resolve all of that. It's time that we do
Let's
this.
show these scrapheads what real tech can do.
Pass the turn. We only have one Restless Reef. Why is he not back yet? Why is he still phased? I have to wait a whole nother turn. They didn't attack. They didn't attack. I love that. Ouch.
Phyrexia has minions, but I have friends.
The extra copies of Phasing of Zhalfir are coming at a very awkward time. I'm getting a little bit of life gain out of them, but I think there goes my Planeswalker finally. I didn't get quite what I wanted in terms of my land. I thought I was starting to get too much land, but no.
This was tougher than I expected.
How do I want to do this? I guess. It's a lot of energy to get rid of a 2/2. Where the heck is all of my malicious instants? I've only got one so far. I've gone through near half my deck. I did lose 2 render inerts early on, so I've only got one more of those to help me out with the battles. Speak of the devil. About time you showed up. Alright. Now we're talking. You've seen this before in the last match. This is where things start to turn around for us. Got rid of a murder and 3 creatures. And that's all it takes. 3 cards in their hand. Half their deck still. And they didn't want to continue. And that's with losing 2 render inerts. Taking a long time to get my malicious instant, and not getting any intimidation campaigns that time around. Yeah, this deck does need a variation of the draw, meaning I need to have different cards pop up, not the exact same card all the time. So having 3 copies of Phasing of Zhalfir, the deck's built around Phasing of Zhalfir. I want to use Phasing of Zhalfir. I can't use it 3 turns in a row. So yeah, this is okay. Y'all know me, you longtime viewers. You've been subscribed for years now. When I say 3 times in a row, I did not edit this. I just mentioned it, and in real time, the Spies at Arena decided to deal me this. So this is what happens. I can't do it with 3. Okay, I built the deck around the card. Yes, I love the card. I'm liking the way it's working. I have to mulligan that. As a matter of fact, we're gonna bury you. And what's left, maybe if I don't miss a land drop, is enough to keep me alive. Maybe no, it's frogs. I think I'm already dead. Invasion, too expensive, goes in the graveyard. There come the +1 counters already. Malicious Eclipse is already overturned. We're pretty much dead. What I can try and do is I can bounce it. Hopefully they put the counter on there. But they have a separate one. I guess I have to take that. So, because they have a separate one, I don't think this matters anymore. They can still just accelerate. These frogs are so cheap. I think Arena just automatically found the one thing that I couldn't deal with. Yeah, there's not much left to do here. I mean, I can do this for one. Just gets another counter, right? Look at that. 3 lands and they empty almost their entire hand. Get exact lethal. I got out more lands than they did. So, yeah. Even mulliganing Arena, it didn't matter because Arena pitted me up against the exact thing that my removal cards couldn't help me against. I had exactly the wrong removal cards for that. I was expecting to face more Duskborn with their Manifest Dread and their 2/2 creatures, or maybe some Incubate from Phyrexia, which gives you 2/2 tokens. Or some Markov Manor that have 2/2s with Ward 2, so instead of targeting them directly, I can just get them all. So many ways that Malicious Eclipse is wonderful in the current environment, and Arena puts me up against frogs that get to 3 toughness by turn 2. 113 cards in your deck still. I was supposed to mulligan this too. I only had 1 land in the opening. Wasn't even looking. And that's not even a color land. But you know what? I gained 1 life and I cost them 1 life, so I'm winning already. Right? Right. Are you more than 2 colors? They are. They're 3 colors, at least. Alright. Well, let's see if this gets by. We lost 1 phasing of Zhalfir already. What did they lose? A bear trap. And trapped in the screen. They throw away a room. So we finally got up against some Duskborn. I can't get rid of that with Malicious Eclipse. What's wrong with these people? Let's do this again. What other creatures can we get? Another mirror. Fear of failed tests. I like that card. Five colors? Okay. I need to do 2 Malicious Eclipses in 1 turn. They're out of ammo though, right? So let's do this. This comes back as an enchantment if I kill it, but not if I exile it. Oh! Duskborn doesn't like us! What a wimp! Alright, we're going to have to leave it there. It's getting close to my dinner time. Let me go in, So you can see, as long as you draw your lands, we're sitting pretty versus most things. We are especially susceptible to, I think, discard can really mess us up quite a bit. Things that mill us out won't necessarily hurt us. We could probably come back from that with, we get better with Well of the Forgotten the more stuff we have in our graveyard. If we can convert Invasion of Amonkhet, having more stuff in our graveyard is also a good thing. So mill's not so bad. Discard can be kind of bad. And as you saw, decks, mostly green and white, that add on the counters onto their creatures ultra fast. That's really what gets us. And even then, if we can hold on long enough to either just skip to Chapter 3 of Phasing of Zhalfir or do an Invasion of Fiora, then we're still in the game. So overall, I'm very happy with the way this turned out. I am interested in your comments for Phasing of Zhalfir. Do you think they broke the color pie with this by allowing blue to destroy things again, even though it gave you something back for everything that it destroyed, right? But I mean, it allowed you to destroy like a 7/7 creature, and all it gives you back is a 2/2. That's not really what blue's been able to do the last few years. So it's a very noticeable departure from what it's done. So very interested in y'all's comments on this kind of feature, and if this is a sign of things to come, if you don't mind it, or if you think this is not just a bend but a break of their color pie. Regardless, I kind of enjoyed using the card, and I enjoyed this deck. So as always, like and subscribe. We'll give a shout out to our sponsor. Thank you very much for being part of the Patreon. And there's links below for the deck list and for the Patreon link. And we'll have something new for you next time. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one.